Let me say something uncomfortable right up front, because if this doesn't sting a little, it won't change anything. Most Americans aren't stuck financially because they don't earn enough. They're stuck because their thinking quietly works against them, and the tragedy is they often feel successful, while the trap tightens. I've watched smart people, high earners with degrees, promotions, and respectable jobs, work themselves into exhaustion and still end up financially fragile, not because of income, but because psychology is expensive. And the middle class has mastered the art of looking wealthy while staying average, financing cars they don't fully understand, remodeling kitchens with home equity lines, funding vacations on credit cards, calling it a lifestyle instead of what it really is, a slow motion drain that feels normal until it's too late. Here's a question to sit with for a second. If your paycheck stopped for 6 months, would your life stay calm or instantly panic? And if that question makes you uncomfortable, ask yourself why. The system rewards comfort, not freedom, because comfort keeps you consuming, working, and upgrading, while wealth quietly grows for people who delay gratification and understand the rules. And no, this isn't about blaming banks, employers, or the government. It's about recognizing incentives. Taxes come out first, spending is encouraged everywhere, and saving feels invisible, which is why wealth isn't about what you earn. It's about what you keep after you subtract bad decisions. Many people call a mortgage an investment, a car a necessity, and credit card rewards free money. But that's not financial literacy. That's self-justification with paperwork, and historically, people used to save first and spend later, while today we spend first and hope the future somehow fixes it. Think about this simple math for a moment, because math doesn't argue with feelings. If inflation averages 3% and your money earns 1% in a checking account, you're losing purchasing power every single year, quietly, even though the balance looks stable. And that's before taxes, now layer in debt, because debt is often sold as leverage. But for most households, it functions like gravity. Once it builds, it pulls every future decision downward, from career choices to investment behavior, because when you owe money, patience disappears, and patience is the foundation of long-term investing. Ask yourself honestly, do you own your lifestyle, or does it own you? I've seen people with six-figure incomes who can't sit through market volatility because their fixed expenses are so high that every dip feels existential, which is why debt doesn't just cost money, it costs calm, and calm is what allows long-term thinking. Optionality is what wealth actually buys, the ability to say no, to walk away, to wait. And you don't get optionality when your future income is already spoken for. A high credit score doesn't mean you're winning. It means you've been very compliant with lender rules. And compliance isn't the same thing as freedom. History is full of examples where borrowing felt safe until conditions changed. And it's always the most leveraged households that feel the shock first. Let's talk comfort, because comfort is a bigger trap than hardship. And here's another question worth asking. Are you financially improving, or just becoming more comfortable? I've watched people say, when I hit $100, I'll start saving. Then income rises, expenses rise faster, and the finish line moves again, because lifestyle inflation is subtle, automatic, and rarely questioned. The issue isn't income. It's the internal thermostat that resets spending every time earnings go up. More stuff doesn't equal more security. It often equals more maintenance, more subscriptions, more mental noise, and less focus, and focus is real capital. Comfort feels like self-care, but unmanaged comfort slowly erodes discipline, and discipline, not income, is what compounds over decades. Status is another invisible tax, because many purchases aren't about utility, they're about approval, and approval doesn't pay dividends. Social media made this worse by turning consumption into performance. But if the applause stopped tomorrow, would your financial life still feel solid? Real status comes from control of time, choices, and stress, not from displays. Now let's address homeownership honestly, because this is where emotions run hot. To home can make sense, but it's not automatically an investment. It's primarily shelter. And when you stretch to the maximum a lender approves, you convert flexibility into obligation, property taxes, insurance, maintenance, and HOA fees. Don't care how proud you are of your purchase, and refinancing to fund lifestyle. is one of the fastest ways to interrupt compounding. A smaller home with savings and liquidity often creates more freedom than a large house with anxiety. Investing is where impatience shows up next, because many people say they're investing when they're really reacting, chasing what's popular instead of what they understand, mistaking activity for progress. Long-term wealth is usually built quietly through diversified, low-cost strategies, consistent contributions, and time, not excitement, which is why tax-advantaged accounts like a 401k, Roth IRA, or traditional IRA matter so much. They're boring by design, and that's their strength. Here's a simple example at consistently investing $500 a month into a diversified portfolio over 30 years, even at a modest average return, can grow into something meaningful because time does the heavy lifting. But that only works if you don't interrupt it with panic or lifestyle pressure. Income alone won't save you if spending scales with every raise, because habits scale faster than paychecks. Some of the most financially secure people earn moderate incomes but save and invest early, control expenses, and respect money enough to give it time to work. Taxes are another place where knowledge matters, because while no one avoids taxes entirely, understanding brackets, deductions, and account types can reduce friction legally, and ignorance quietly compounds, just like interest. Except it compounds against you. Finally, the most dangerous trap isn't debt or spending. It's thinking you're fine, mistaking stability for security, assuming tomorrow will look like today, and stopping the learning process. Wealth isn't mysterious, it's just unpopular, because it requires patience, restraint, and the willingness to be boring in a culture addicted to stimulation. The real question isn't how to get rich fast. It's how to avoid staying stuck. And that starts with different questions, different habits, and consistent action over time. None of this is personal financial advice. Investing involves risk. Markets fluctuate and tax situations vary, but the principles are timeless. Spend less than you earn. Invest the difference thoughtfully. Manage debt carefully. Keep learning, and let time work. So here's your choice. Are you building freedom or just upgrading comfort? And if this made you rethink even one habit, comment the word FREEDOM, subscribe for more practical U.S. personal finance breakdowns, and watch the next video where we walk step by step through building a simple, resilient plan using 401ks, IRAs, and long-term investing.